Welcome everybody. First off, and we want to hit you with a apology to our millions of subscribers at home. After our last episode, Ryan's rant about Facebook requests to sponsor dance uniforms and batting gloves for travel teams, he apparently offended 3/4 of Morgan Wallen's fan base, which forced Morgan Wallen to call up Spotify and say he's taking down his music off of Spotify until something's done about our podcast. So we were put on a suspension and fined. So now we are back for at least one more episode until we get suspended again. So welcome back. This episode, we're gonna hit you with the hard-hitting issues again. We're gonna break down the retirement of Tom Brady. We're gonna talk about a white people trend that's probably gonna offend somebody else. This week, we're gonna talk about the Super Bowl matchups. Duke, North Carolina, Coach K ended on a win last night in Chapel Hill. It's last time there, so we're gonna chat about that a little bit. We're gonna talk the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame nominations came out this week, and that's going to make for a good discussion. And also we got the Daytona 500 coming up next week. So we're going to talk a little Mount Rushmore of NASCAR. Ryno, what's up, dog?
I don't know it, man. I'm glad to be back. Between Spotify suspensions and nor'easters in Columbia, South Carolina, we had 3 weeks of wintry mix. We got knocked out of power that following week. We had some snow and snow flurries the last couple weeks. So now we're back, and hopefully we'll be moving up on that weather scale back to sunny and 75. Like you mentioned, Tom Brady, the GOAT in most people's eyes. He's one of them guys, like, I think when Peyton Manning retired, whether you were a fan or not, you gave respect. And that's the way it is for a lot of like even Kobe Bryant and Jordan. Even if you weren't a fan, you gave respect. I don't think this is the same way with Tom Brady. I mean, he's got a lot of baggage. He's kind of a whiner to a certain degree, kind of what Coach K is. He fought for his team, which kind of gave him a whining moniker, I guess you'd say. But anyway, Tom Brady's won a fistful of rings, a fistful of MVPs. And I think it's something to be said about dominating the league without marquee players necessarily. With the Patriots, other than Randy Moss, where he didn't win a championship, he had a who's who of, or I say a gaggle of extras, like a Rex Burkhead, Ben Jarvis, Green Ellis, an old Corey Dillon, Troy Brown, David Patton. Other than Gronkowski, he really never won a championship with a potential Pro Bowler on offense. And another thing, at 45, round about 45 where we're at, he's led the league in passing this year, where you saw like Peyton Manning kind of break down, Eli Manning not be as good, Ben Roethlisberger this year not be what he was 5 years ago. It's pretty amazing the domination of Tom Brady still at this age. And I think he just realized at some point he's going to have to let it go. And I don't think he ever wanted a coach to have to make the decision to bench him. A little bit too much pride, and definitely, plenty of money, and he can go and do other things. He's still got small kids. So I love Tom Brady, man. I like everything about him. I like his arrogance. I like his winning. I don't think anybody ever win as many Super Bowls as he's had, especially into that age group. So I think the next time we see Tom Brady, he'll be putting on that gold jacket in the Football Hall of Fame. Speaking of which, this is your wheelhouse. This is you my music and video and TV type guy. So we're gonna talk about that Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. The nominees came out this week. It's some surprising names. I mean, I don't keep up with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I know you said you watch it. It's a eclectic mix of way back when to some more recent people. First on the list right here, they in alphabetical order, is Beck. I think that's one that most white dudes our age remember. That loser anthem was played a lot through there. I enjoyed Beck. The lyrics were nuts. Pat Benatar is another one. I figured she might have already been in there in the Hall of Fame. Hit Me With Your Best Shot, that type thing. I remember that back in the bowling alley back in the 80s. I don't know a couple of these. Kate Bush, you could tell me she's whatever she is. Obviously, she's got she's played with from Bork, the big boy. I don't know what that means. I don't know what she did. I don't know anything about it. Devo.
You did your research on Kate Bush.
Well, I just got a little snippet. But I got this Devo. I don't know. It says it's a performance art, rock and roll, satire, punk band. You can talk about that if you want to. Now I'm getting into your wheelhouse. I think Duran Duran is a group you've seen in person. It's an 80s group. It's one that one of your favorites. They're on the list. I thought they would have been in. That's another thing, another group I heard back in the 80s. And then we fast forwarded all the way up to modern day and Eminem. I didn't even think he'd be on the ballot. I know it's a time frame thing, but if all these old people on here, I figured you just skip Eminem for a couple of years because he's still gonna be relevant for a while. The Eurythmics, 1980s pop rock. Most people have heard of the Eurythmics. Judas Priest as well. Most people have heard of them. That's a little older, big long hair, guitars. So Judas Priest is on this list. I don't know this one. I've never heard of this one. Fela Kuta or something like that. It's a spirit of rock and roll, some generational impact, innovative music, blah, blah, blah. I don't think on this list right here he can get in unless there's just somebody really pushing hard for him. MC5, Motor City 5, they kicked out the jams and politicized every bystander and cited says, I don't know what that means. They're not getting in. New York Dolls, I don't know nothing about that. Influential music and rock history. Now, here's where we get to where I think these are some locks. Dolly Parton. And I had no idea that Dolly Parton wasn't in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. And it's weird that it's called the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because so many of these people aren't rock and roll. They're just music. You got R&B, you got rap, you got punk, you got whatever. But anyway, Dolly Parton has stood the test of time from the Coat of Many Colors to the Islands in the Stream to being Miley Cyrus's godmother, Dollywood that we know about. So Dolly Parton been around a long time. I think she's probably a lot. One of your favorites, Rage Against the Machine. We all know them. That's another one of your dogs. You got a whole kennel full of dogs on this list right here.
I got some guys, man.
Yeah. They called you up and asked for your top 5. You got them in there. And then of course Lionel Richie, who we know from Dancing on the Ceiling All Night Long, who's currently a judge on American Idol. I think he kind of had a lull, and then his daughters kind of became reality stars with Paris Hilton and stuff. And now he's back on the main screen, and we see Lionel Richie. I think he's a shoe-in to get in. Carly Simon from the 70s. That's what kind of gets me. Like, you this is a veterans committee. This is like putting Jim Rice in the Baseball Hall of Fame. Like, it didn't had their time. And then another one is probably one of your dogs too, Tribe Called Quest. Hip hop legends. That's another one that's got a lot of clout. And then we'll wrap it up right here with Dionne Warwick, who I also thought was probably in one of those voices that when you hear on the radio, you knew who it was. So there's the list. It's a bunch of heavy hitters. I think there's a few that you can knock off the list, but you looking at that list right there in front of you, where are you going? You told me that every voter gets 5 selections and the top 6 get in. So if you checking 5 boxes, talk to me.
I'm going to say, like I said, this is a lot of my guys, man. I would say out of my top 10 bands, Duran Duran, Beck, A Tribe Called Quest, Rage Against the Machine, they're my top 10 bands of all time. So there's my 4 I would pick personally. And I would probably throw a Devo or a Pat Benatar in there, but just as my choice. But it's a TV show as well, so it's going to have to be entertaining as well. And like I said, everybody gets a vote. So like, I feel like Eminem's going to get in for sure, and Dolly Parton's going to get in for sure. Because I mean, this is Dolly Parton's first time on the ballot, which makes no sense at all because, I mean, there are country, Johnny Cash is in there, several country artists are in there, and I mean, the world loves Dolly Parton, so she's a lock. I mean, I don't know how you go through that list and don't pick her as one of your five. One of the, like, I know you said Fela Kuti, like, but these guys that everybody's in the Hall of Fame gets a vote. So I know this guy is super, I don't know his music either, but he's super influential. So like people like the Talking Heads and people like that are in there, they're going to give this guy a vote. So there's going to be one of these Devo, Fela Kuti, MC5, New York Dolls that you don't necessarily think you're like, kind of like, what do they do? But they're one of these influential people we're going to get in. Man, I think Duran Duran gets in, man. I think this is their first time on the ballot, man. But they've got the influential. I mean, they were the poster boys of MTV at the beginning. I mean, they were like the Beatles of the 80s to a certain degree. I mean, once you look at who's in out of 80s artists, the Bruce Springsteens, the Madonnas, the Michael Jacksons, the Prince, Duran Duran's probably right there and should be in. So, I mean, they've sold over 100 million albums. They're influential. They're still doing it today. They just put out an album at the end of the last year. They're still touring. So give them their flowers while they can still get up there and perform, So I kind of think Rage Against the Machine gets in too. I know Tom Morello, the guitar player, is on the committee. So he's involved with the Rock Hall anyways. And I mean, they're an important band, especially from our generation. So how many is that out of my locks there?
Man, you got about 7 or 8 now, man. You got to nail that down to 5. You got the sympathetic Dolly Partons and all that. Then you got your favorites. Then you throw in a couple others. You got to trim.
Just like last year, I watched it and Carole King got in. I don't know how familiar you are with Carole King, but go back and watch last year's on HBO Max, the induction, and Carole King comes on there. I'm not a big Carole King guy. Obviously, it's before my day. She's like 80 something years old, and her contribution to music, like, every song they play of hers on there. And she wrote like Aretha Franklin's Respect and stuff like that. And she's just now getting in at like 80 years old. So, I mean, Dolly Parton's getting in. If Dolly Parton dies and they don't put her in there, man, some people are going to feel really bad. So Lionel Richie's got the body of work. Carl, they've all, like, all these people deserve to be in there.
What's the problem with this backload is when they started the Hall of Fame music, there were so many people they had to put in, that was pre-Hall of Fame that everybody's got backed up, and you don't have Dionne Warwick and Dolly Parton and these 80s and Seth, Carly Simon. They've been around 50 years, and I mean, what's the holdup? Why don't we have?
Like I said, like the Foo Fighters got in last year, so it's agreed. But heck, the Foo Fighters are the only rock band that are relevant today. So why not wait a little bit on the Foo Fighters?
That's what I'm saying about Eminem. Eminem's got time. He's still gonna be producing music for 20 more years. So
yeah, but they got to put a TV show and get some ratings too. So
okay.
Yeah, it's all a good discussion. I mean, I got problems with Stevie Nicks already being in there twice for a solo career and Fleetwood Mac. I got problems with Tina Turner being in there for a solo career and Ike and Tina Turner. Let's get some people in there once before you put people in there twice. But it's a good discussion. If you're into music, it's a good discussion. It'll be a good TV show to watch next year. If you're into music, it's a good discussion. I mean, there's not a lot of bands these days anyways. So, I mean, once you get past, who's the last big rock band besides Foo Fighters that sold albums? I mean, it's not going to be popular, but Nickelback, Linkin Park, that's bands, that's 10, 15 years ago now. So, I mean, whoever's got the hot TikTok video song, is that who we're going to put in from now on? Doja Cats and whatnot. So people hear the name and don't know who they are. So I don't know, man. Music's an interesting thing. I don't think people consume it like they used to. So, and we're going to go music with white people trends already. It's a good segue here. So So we're speaking of music and stuff that's we don't know about music anymore. There's a cat out there, whether you've heard of him or not. If you should have, because he's the biggest artist in music right now, is Morgan Wallen. And there's a lot of controversy around him. And the controversy, I think, did nothing but help him. Ryno's gonna go into this a little more on this white people trend of, you know, we've heard a lot of groups come out, you know, Justin Bieber's, Taylor Swift's, and we haven't seen really where people in their 40s are rushing out to pay $600, $400 to see him in concert. So Ryno, I'm gonna let you roll with the trend of Morgan Wallen and his $400 tickets with 2 albums.
Yeah, that's the thing is it's only 2 albums. Like I kind of get a lot of folks are going to see George Strait now. You know, they might fly to a destination to see a George Strait at Las Vegas or the Texas Stockyards. You know, George Strait ain't gonna be around much longer. He's got 50 number ones. He's got, you know, old songs, Amarillo by Morning, and up to new songs, the Troubadour, the Check Yes or No's. You know, he's been on the Pure Countries. He's got a laundry list of stuff you could 40 years that you could fall in love with a George Strait. And I know this sounds goofy and some people are going to disagree, but Garth Brooks had a pretty good run. He's selling out Neyland Stadium. You know, he was in that heyday when we were in our teenage years up until our mid-20s before he turned into Chris Gaines, where he had a couple good albums. And, you know, just like we talked about Hootie and the Blowfish, that was in our wheelhouse in our younger years. And now they can sell out any venue. I get that. They got a laundry list of 20, 30 years. Darius Rucker obviously got his own thing, but this Morgan Wallen cat's 23. You know, and like you said, he got called on the Ring doorbell, dropping the M-bomb or overheard, but not in a, and I'm not a judge or jury, but not in a downtrodden way to his buddy. But anyway, it got blown up on TMZ. And like you said, initially it knocked him down, but now like everybody's got his back. And now instead of like rewarding his fans for sticking with him, I think he's gouging them. And the problem with the gouging is they're paying $500 to go see this cat in the upper deck with 2 albums. I mean, you can't run a concert on 2 albums, I don't think. You know, there's probably 7 songs on it that suck. So he's got about 6 songs he can sing. And I don't know if he sings covers or he brings out Little Dirty or whatever that dude's name is. They sing Broadway Girls with, or you know, I don't know what he does. I don't know if he sings covers or old music. I'm not sure what his deal is. I don't know if he's a new age country guy, like he's singing Florida Georgia Line, or is he singing Folsom Prison Blues like Johnny Cash? It's an interesting mix. I don't know that there's anything, you know, I've been to a lot of events, sports wise, and some music wise, and I just don't know that I would spend $500 on anything. I don't know that I'd spend $500 on the Super Bowl ticket. Maybe when the Braves won the World Series this past fall, maybe if I knew Game 6 was it, maybe I'd do it one time. I'd probably pay to see Tiger win a Masters just because of the nostalgia of Augusta. And there's very few things. Like we went to the Kentucky Derby 4 years ago, and we went to general admission type. And maybe I'd pay $300 or $400 if I was hanging out with Gronk and Brady and Julian Edelman, or, you know, seeing a who's who of David Beckham and them. But I just can't see me, you know, dropping a car payment or half a mortgage to see a fella who doesn't really have a list of albums or a list of hits. It's just a fad thing to me. You the music guy. I'm gonna tell you, you got to buy a ticket, $300 ticket. You got to go see somebody, something. Where you spending your $300? Who you going to see?
I don't know, man. Like I said, it's an odd phenomenon for people in their 40s to go see the hot new young guy. Like I get like I'm a big Rage Against the Machine guy, so they're back together for the first time in a long time. So if me and my friends wanted to plan a week, you know, also being of a certain age, that concert's got to be on a Friday or Saturday for me to go to it. So I mean, I'm not rushing out to see anybody on a Tuesday. So I don't know when these dates are, but yeah, it's odd for people in their 40s to rush out to see the hot new young trend. I get, getting together with people from college and going to see Pearl Jam or Hootie and the Blowfish or Green Day or anybody from that time making a big event of it. But I can't see 40-year-old people calling up, sending text to people, hey man, Morgan Wallen's coming, we going. I would have to feel like somebody would say, who? But I don't know, man. Good for him. I mean, good for him. I mean, nothing against him. Like they could cut his song could come on right now and I wouldn't know what it was. But so we're also talking about something we don't know so much about, but it's obviously a thing based on social media, just what we see. We're like, it makes you at least look up to see who this guy is. I mean, I know who he was, but he's also the reason your kid has a mustache and a mullet these days. So he's the hot guy. I mean, you might see a family of 5 spending $400 a piece to go see him. So I don't know.
I sent you the picture yesterday of the group and the fella I seen picking up food last night, and the kid looked like, the only difference was his mustache was a Kool-Aid mustache, but he looked like he was about 12 years old. He's built like Luke Combs, but he had everything that Morgan Wallen. He had the, he looked like he walked into whatever fad store it was, and they threw all the fads on him at one time. He had the local boy trucker hat, the Bass Pro hoodie, some skinny jeans, and some Hey Dude shoes, which we talked about. I'm down with the Hey Dudes. I just broke out a brand new pair. I think we were on the cutting edge of talking Hey Dudes, because a couple of the podcasts we listened to went into the Hey Dudes the following week. It's pretty funny. Speaking of ticket sales, man, Super Bowl has got two teams in it, with Tom Brady being knocked out, with Patrick Mahomes being knocked out. The Super Bowl is 2 teams that don't get a lot of run in the postseason. We hadn't seen the Bengals in a long time, since Boomer Esiason was under center, and now the Rams with the new look, Matt Stafford, Devon Miller, the Odell Beckham Jr., the new additions, along with Aaron Donald and Jalen Ramsey. We got 2 new fan bases, and LA is at home, so that'll help ticket sales definitely. And I'm sure the hardcore Houday Bengal fans will travel, because Joe Burrow might be the next Tom Brady as far as face of franchise. He looks like a grown-up Macaulay Culkin, but he's getting the job done. And so I'm looking forward to the Super Bowl next week. We'll see if the Bengals can keep it rolling, or Matthew Stafford can get him a ring. What you got on the Super Bowl? I know you don't dig deep in there, but just from watching the PTIs and the Around the Horns and the news media, what you got? What you looking like on that Super Bowl?
Yeah, I don't dig deep, man, but I've been watching the playoffs, man. Top-notch football, man, these playoffs. Seems like out of the blue, I don't know if you noticed last week in your feed, like, where the Bengal fans coming from all of a sudden? Like, I told y'all, where did this come from? When we were coming up, the Bengals were pretty good. The Icky Woods, the Boomer Esiason, but I see a little bit of it in my feed. I was like, I didn't know we had all these Bengal fans out here.
This is the bad thing about TJ Maxx and Marshalls, and it's me. I'm one of them guys. I'll pick up that $5.99 hat and put it in the closet just in case I need it one time. And a couple of people I've seen on there, I think that's what they did. They seen the $5.99 old ugly NFL hat, and they got it and stuck it in the closet for one day. Just in case they good, you can throw it on there and you can say that's your dogs. I think that's what we're running into.
Yeah, just my little bit of input into football, man. I guess I'm gonna jump on the Rams, root for the Rams. I guess Stafford seems like a good dude. Cooper Kupp seems like a hell of an athlete. So I'm gonna jump.
You can jump on that white guy bandwagon if you want to.
I'm not going to buy the jersey or anything, but I'm a root for one of the 2 teams. So
okay,
that's who
JJ Redick, I understand. You jump on the white people tree. White people trees is pulling for the underdog white guy, the undersized white guy. You got Grayson out there. You got JJ Redick. That's your dog. So, but no, I agree. I I do think anything can happen. Obviously, it's a one game, and we saw an undefeated Patriots team lose to Eli Manning in a not a great offense. So anything can happen. But I like the defensive matchup with the Rams up front. I think they can get pressure on Burrow. And I believe, like you said, Cooper Kupp is a matchup nightmare. Odell Beckham's a matchup nightmare. And both of them's got pretty good kickers, pretty good special teams. decent enough defense. I think it's gonna be a great game. I'm looking forward to it. Speaking of ending stuff that's ending, Coach K, Mike Krzyzewski, has been a pillar our whole lifetime at Duke, far as I can remember. I don't know anybody that coached Duke other than that. I wasn't, paying attention back before he took over, and it's been a great legacy he's had, winning championships, coaching dream teams, coaching great players. It's a heck of a legacy. And I think it's pretty cool to turn the reins over to a former player. Jon Scheyer's kind of been groomed over the last couple years. He's the guy who talks to the reporter going into halftime. He does a lot of the head coaching duties. And I think they won't miss a beat where, like, it looks like North Carolina stumbled a little bit when they're passing the reins over, which is great for me because I cannot stand North Carolina or Roy Williams. But anyway, I don't think Duke misses a beat. Now, Duke hadn't been as dominant, but this one and done is such a crapshoot of who's going to win every year and being consistent. But being a hardcore Duke guy, a guy who's been to Krzyzewskiville many times, watching him dominate the last trip to the Dean Dome, what do you think about Coach K's legacy and then going forward with Jon Scheyer as the head coach?
Yeah, man. Just before I get in too deep in it, man, just with us getting old, shows we're getting old, man. We're seeing all the greats like going away, the Tom Brady's, and now Coach K is just kind of, we're seeing the end of a lot of legacies. But when we were coming up, we didn't have a lot of TV channels, so you'd watch Saturday morning cartoons, which will lead you into NWA wrestling, and you're on the same channel, man. The Raycom ACC comes on, so I always gravitated to Duke. That's how I became a fan. So Coach K's been there the whole time with me too. But yeah, man, this definitely college basketball has changed. I mean, with the one and done. So I mean, you and me, we grew up watching guys play at least 2 or 3 years before, you love these guys for 4 years, and then that gets you to the NBA. You watch them go that way. So now these guys, see them real quick because they're not going to be there long. So I think a lot of that's why he's getting out of there. I think the whole thing with the players being able to get endorsements and stuff now, I think that was the end of the rope for him. He's like, I'm done. But yeah, man, this was the transition to Scheyer. I think that's the right choice, man. He's, I think, 33 years old. He's had a championship there. He's supposedly the guy that's been recruiting a lot of these, the Zions and people like that they've gotten. So this is the last run. Yeah, man. Last game in Chapel Hill, man. Good to see him go out with them. I mean, that was a whooping last night, man. I mean, North Carolina, they were throwing up some. If those threes were going down for them, it might have been a different ball game because they were throwing them up, but they just weren't hitting. But this Duke team, man, this being Coach K's last run, man, this team's as good as anybody, and they look like they were hitting on all cylinders last night. So I mean, I think 3 or 4 of these guys are NBA players, and 3 or 4 of them aren't going to be there next year. So yeah, it looks good, man. Ready for March Madness, man. Ready to see this. I mean, I'm sure the media is going to ride this like crazy because college basketball is so watered down now. So Coach K's last run is going to be a big media blitz.
Yeah, I guarantee you, Jim Nantz and CBS is hoping at least to like a Final Four, so they can pump out. They can pump out them 40 years of highlights from the Leitners and Dawkins to the Elton Brands, all the way up to the JJ Reddicks until, the Zion and RJ Barrett, Cam Reddish teams until now. There's going to be a lot of media on these. Like you said, man, it's tough because you think Baylor's a really good basketball team. Kansas whacked them yesterday. Gonzaga's beatable. Auburn's playing some really good basketball, but they've won probably 3 out of their last 5 games by like a possession. I mean, they only beat Georgia, who was terrible, by 2 yesterday. So I think it's wide open, and it'll be pretty cool to watch Coach K make a run, at least to the Final Four. You definitely don't want to see it end with some goofy loss to like Richmond in the second round or something stupid like that. It'd be cool to like watch him go out on top.
Yeah, it'd be good TV for them to go go Final Four to, they'd have Leitner, Hill, Hurley. They'd all be at that game, man. And people tune in at least just to hate and hope they lost, for the people that don't like them. I mean,
which is most
people don't hate. People don't hate programs that suck. So I mean, people tune in just to root against Duke. So
well, I've always said since I was little, nobody hates the Clippers. Everybody hated the Lakers. So nobody hates, like you said, nobody hates Towson State. People hate Duke. And the white boy thing with Reddick and your boy Grayson, who's still keeping up the trouble. But
Grayson keeps the hate alive. So
yeah, he don't do it nothing. He don't do himself no justice. But anyway, so me and Kurt big on when I was doing the podcast back in the day. Kurt's a big proponent of list. I think list make conversation. You can put a list of anything up, and everybody's gonna have a different opinion. And this is how we're gonna close ours out every week. We're gonna do a Mount Rushmore, but this Mount Rushmore isn't the greatest per se. It's who you liked. And Kurt mentioned the Daytona 500 is coming up. Super Bowl's next week. The Daytona 500 is the following week. And that's the one race that, back when we were growing up, everybody's watching. Everybody's around the TV on Sunday. Used to be more like 1 o'clock. I think they backed it up to like 2:30, 3 o'clock now. But, you go to church, you go to your Uncle Jimmy's house, and the Daytona 500 is going to be on. Now, the old folks might sleep through the midsection of the race, but everybody's getting up on that last 20 laps to see who's going to beat Bang and win the Daytona 500. So if you grew up anywhere in the southern states, even if you weren't a fan, even if your parents weren't a fan, you knew who Dale Earnhardt was. Richard Petty was a staple. And I believe if you talked about most recognizable people in southern states in the 80s, I believe you might have like Ronald Reagan and world leaders, but I think Richard Petty and then a Dale Earnhardt would be right there with those guys as most recognizable. So we're going to do a Mount Rushmore of our top 4 favorite drivers from from little guys all the way up to now. So I'm going to throw it over to Kurt. Throw me your top 4, your best 4, the guys that when you were sitting there on the couch on Sunday at 1 o'clock, when they was firing up the engines, who was you looking forward to seeing? Who was you hoping took that checkered flag?
Yeah, man. I mean, number 1's gonna be the king, man. It's gonna be Richard Petty, man. I grew up. My grandfather was a big Richard Petty guy. Like he was the guy that went to all. I mean, he went to all the races. He went to the races back when they used to race on the beach. So I mean, I knew Richard Petty stuff my whole life. So Richard Petty's up there. I remember even listening to the stuff on the radio, man. I can't think of a less entertaining thing to listen to a car race on the radio. But my grandfather and my dad, man, they turned the race on the radio. I might be doing something out in the shop or something like that. And you just hear coming around,
I'll stop you there real quick just to tell you, back in the day, we lived across the road track, so we couldn't get cable. And if any of the races weren't on TV or were on cable at the time, my dad had a 2-piece radio that broke apart. And my living room sounded like, when they say crank it up or whatever, and it's like, it sounded like there was dudes revving up motors in my living room from 1 o'clock to 5 o'clock every Sunday if it wasn't on TV. Listen to it on the radio, man. Them old dudes wouldn't listen to NASCAR.
Yeah, you listen to Ned Jarrett the whole time on the radio on the race. But yeah, Richard Petty. I'm gonna go Richard Petty. I'm gonna go Earnhardt. I mean, I liked Earnhardt ever since the Wrangler days, man. I like that guy. And Earnhardt's gonna be on there. I'm gonna go Cale Yarborough, man. I think we all had the Cale Yarborough Hardee's car from Hardee's that came into little value meal as a kid. And after that, I'm gonna go Ricky Rudd, man. Ricky Rudd was my guy. I always liked Ricky Rudd. So that's my NASCAR 4.
All right, well, I'm gonna go a little different. I'm gonna go a little different with that. And my dog's going ape shit in the background. So if you hear something, I don't know what's going on in there. But anyway, mine's a little different than that. I didn't like Dale Earnhardt. I'll be honest with you. I think Dale Earnhardt to me was like Ric Flair. He was like the evil empire. And I like some other guys. And I'll go further back with you, and I'll agree with you. And I told Melissa this about 2 days ago. Back when I was must have been 6 or 7. My dad took me to a meet and greet at a Hardee's somewhere. I have no idea where at the time because I had no sense of direction when I was 6. And I got a shirt that's probably about this long with Cale Yarborough standing in front of the 28 Hardee's car, and he autographed it. And I wore that shirt so much, you could almost see through the shirt by the time I stopped wearing it. So definitely Cale Yarborough was one of them guys, one of them tough old guys. You know, we replaced that tough guy with the California kids like we see now with the Gordon, and then going forward with the slick back hair and all this. I love those Allisons, the Yarboroughs, the guys who would park on the side of the racetrack and fight it out. That's what I liked about NASCAR, not the sissy boys like the Gordons who slap and fuss and like that. But Cale Yarborough was definitely one. I liked Harry Gant just because he had the Skull Bandit car. It was just like the cool car. You know, he was one of them old guys who always was in the mix with that Skull Bandit car. It was something about that car that always had me really interested in him finishing higher. Number 3 is Wild Bill from Dawsonville. And the main reason I like Bill Elliott was because he sounded like a hit. They'd interview his brother Ernie. He sounded just like the same hit. They was the most countryest fellas I had ever seen. But then he won that $1 million in I think 1985 or 86. And that was something that had never been done before. And that was a big deal. And ironically, I on a trip to Vegas, he sat 3 seats in front of me on the airplane. He was going out there to run for, I think, Jeremy Mayfield or somebody at the time to finish up the season in Phoenix, but he flew into Las Vegas. So I always liked Bill Elliott, and his son, Chase Elliott, won the championship a year ago. So solid racing family. And I like Tim Richmond. And most of the people, there's several reasons why. I happen to have the poster where he's got his dong on Neil Bonnet's shoulder or whatever that was printed and then taken back and airbrushed or reshot or whatever. There's a picture. If you hadn't seen it, I'm sure most of you have, and most of our audience has seen the photo of Tim Richmond unzipped his racing suit, threw his thing out there on Neil Bonnet's shoulder. But he was a wild man. You know, he raced hard, he lived hard, he died early. He died of AIDS, but it was the heterosexual version. He was running the bar pretty heavy. It's surprising, man. The groupies and the places they ended up. This was kind of like NASCAR was kind of like NWA wrestling, man. You end up in these small towns where people just think you're a god. And you know, Tim Richmond ran the car off the track several times. You know, big mullet, big mustache. He'd fit right in right now. Like he'd be right in the game in 2022 of what the youth would probably jump all over Tim Richmond, but hard runner like that. But there's so many, man. Ernie Irvin and Davey Allison, Alan Kowicki, Mark Martin. There's a bunch of them great guys back there in the late 80s, early 90s. Like I said, the Allisons, the Waltrips, even though I didn't really care for Darrell Waltrip and definitely didn't care much for Michael Waltrip. You know, it was a family thing going forward and forward and forward. And, you know, there was so many, like Lee Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt and Dale Earnhardt Jr. There's so many legacies in there that we don't have anymore. Even, you know, Kyle Petty was strong there in that Mellow Yellow car for a while after Richard Petty retired. We don't have that anymore. It comes down to who's got the most money and whose daddy can afford to put him in a race car. And I think that's why most people in around here don't like the racing anymore. There's no more mustaches. There's no more smoking cigarettes. There's no beer on the cars. There's no tobacco on the cars. You know, there's controversy trying to take away the southern states and what they want to do at a NASCAR event. It's just kind of killed what it was, like you talked about, where it was a staple on Sunday. You know, your dad, your granddad, your uncles, you know, mine too. 1 o'clock on Sunday, you hush, you know, we about to fire up Ned Jarrett and Eli Gold and get it on. So that's our Mount Rushmore. We'll do one of these each week, and I think it'll probably go from food, it'll go movies, it'll go TV shows, you know, whatever we come up with. Hell, it might be cereals and Pop-Tart flavors. Who knows? I mean, it could change every week, but throw the list out there and you guys can tell us where we're right or where we're wrong. But I think that's it for this week. We got the Tom Brady, the Hall of Fame, the white folks, the Super Bowl, Coach K, and Mount Rushmore. You got anything else to throw in there, Kurt?
I was gonna say, since we're both watching it, why don't we bring up the hot new show that came out this week, Pam and Tommy, since we're both watching it. What's
Well,
your
I
view
mean,
on it so far? First 3 episodes.
I think it's I had a buddy of mine who is a contractor talk about this is what guys go through. Seth Rogen, I ain't gonna tell the whole story or whatever, but he is a contractor. He's the one who ends up stealing the tape, but the abuse he takes from Tommy Lee as a rich person who never pays along the way, but always wants you to change up what the deal you agreed upon, and then in turn, these guys, contractors, have spent this money to do this construction. He ends up firing them, and they're on the hook. One for 17,000, one for like 6,000 or 8,000, and that's a normal thing. I don't know what you want me to say, Kurt, about it's basically it's basically a tattoo dude.
Well, like, first, if nobody knows it, it's the Pam and Tommy Lee sex tape story from the mid to late 90s, to where that tape was stolen and how it became multi-million dollar business, how it was stolen. And it's a graphic show, man. And I think Sebastian Stan's a pretty good Tommy Lee, and I think Lily James is a great Pamela Anderson, man. She looks the part and acts the part. I mean, it actually paints, so far, I looked it up, and she supposedly didn't give the show her blessing, but so far I think it paints her in a positive light. But there's a lot of graphic stuff. It's all fake from what I understand, as far as the stuff they're showing. But
the guy's talking to his penis, and the penis is talking back to him. I mean, that's what Kurt's skirting around. I mean, he got a nice hog sitting there at the bathroom. He talks to it, it looks up and talks to him, and it's an animated wiener. I don't know when you brought this up, I didn't know, where we're supposed to go with this, but yeah, it tells the story of, it's the chronological order, and it goes back and forth about the contractor life to the Tommy Lee, the evolution of their relationship, them getting out of relationships, them starting to date, moving in, and then it goes back and forth, and then the lives intersect as a contractor and customer. And then once the tape's released, that's where we're at right now. It's only 3 episodes in, so
yeah,
if you
got Hulu and you're not easily offended, it's pretty good watch so far.
Yeah, just don't watch it around your kids, because there's going to be a couple of them scenes where you don't want to have to explain what that is. I don't think.
Yeah, don't watch the show about a sex tape around your kids. That goes without saying. So
okay. I didn't know. So
don't watch any of it around your kids.
Yeah, that's true. But yeah, it's interesting if you're curious. I think most people know the story. I did not know it was stolen in revenge of debt, from doing the job.
I didn't know that. I didn't know that story either.
I just thought it was a guy who thought he could get rich quick. He was in the house doing whatever, snatches it and gone. I didn't realize there was a reason. And to be honest with you, I'm on Seth or whatever the guy's name is. I'm on Seth Rogen's side in here. Bump Tommy Lee, man. I mean, screw that guy. And the way he would, if this is accurate, the way he treated the subcontractors, he deserved that. I don't know that he deserved stealing the safe, getting the money and the guns is probably enough. Going next level with that little tape, that is what it is. But the dude's, for all intents and purposes, from what I can tell, and I've never really seen this. I've seen some interviews with the guy. I didn't realize Tommy Lee's an asshole, and so he got what he got. He
gave the show his blessing too. So
he don't care, man. That dude's super rich.
So
he was probably happy. Yeah. He probably saw the talking wiener and was like, "Heck yeah, man! Tell him about it." You done?
I'll was gonna say something that else I didn't know.
You brought this up.
Hey, we're a current event show here, so I figured it was current.
Yeah, but you like to tread lightly. I don't really care. If you told me we was going into this, I'm down. But you jumped in the ring and then you kind of backed into the corner a little bit. You ain't wanna.
Yeah, I was gonna say Tommy Lee, I guess ever since the sex tape had come out, has painted him in a positive light. So he was just the drummer of a hair band until that came out. So
yeah, you driving the boat with would you remember there? It's a pretty pretty good thing for a guy's ego, I believe. So I'm sure, only thing you know about the guy is he's a drummer and he's got a pipe. That's the only two things you know about. And, tattoos and long hair. So
Yeah.
good for him, I guess.
He's almost 60 years old now. So we're old, man.
It's amazing. It's more people will be doing the Coach K tribute tour here. And hopefully at some point we make it to the age to where, we got that one farewell tour and get out and enjoy retirement. And we won't have near as much money as the Coach K or the Tommy Lee, but I don't need that much, man. Just not having to get up and do anything every day. That'd be great for me. All right. Well, that's it. That's the whole list and a bonus review of the Pam and Tommy Lee. We'll probably, like I said, it's only three episodes in, so we'll probably jump back and forth on that. Maybe every couple episodes we'll get you up to date. I think we both watching Righteous Gemstones. We'll talk about that one. And then I think some of the new seasons of shows are coming out now on Netflix. I saw, I think Melissa was watching the new Sweet Magnolias or something yesterday. That's not something we're going to talk about.
Yeah, Crystal was watching that one too.
Yeah, I think that's the girls' go-to. I did watch, I don't know the name of it, the woman in the window with the girl across the street or something that Kristen Bell's in. If you're looking for like something to feel about an hour and a half of time, that's pretty thrilling. Well, I guess it's a little longer than that. I think it's 6 episodes, but anyway, it's not that long. Kristen Bell, somehow she's popped up in our feed a lot lately. I've been watching a lot of her shows. So we go for her. But yeah, so we'll jump back on the Righteous Gemstones, jump back on the Pam and Tommy Lee maybe in a couple weeks. We'll talk about next Sunday. It'll be like the pre-game show for the Super Bowl. We'll talk about everything that's happening. I'm sure there's a lot of activities, and I got some things. Kurt's got a couple white people trends, couple I don't know what you say, things to do in bathroom etiquette. We got stuff that's stacked up that we got kind of backed up
due to our suspension
and stuff. We got a lot of honestly, we got a lot of like rest in pieces that got pushed back. So we may, depending on how deep we got on topics, we may circle back and get some of the Bob Saget memories. We talk about what not to do in a public restroom, stuff like that. So we got a lot of stuff coming for you. We're gonna try to make this an every Sunday thing. We don't want to get bogged down and get caught behind. So hope you enjoy it. Like it on Spotify, on iTunes, Apple Podcast, and then on YouTube as well. So we're gonna be here every Sunday. If you got any topics or ideas you want us to discuss, we don't went to the deep end now. We're just talking about Tommy Lee's wiener. Ain't nothing off the board now. So shoot us any ideas you have. I'm sure we'll have a little wrestling thrown in there, some food, some movies. At some point, we're gonna see Jackass 4. We'll get a review of that for you as well. So all across the board, we coming at you.
Till next week. Thanks, people.